Have you ever been in a room where something serious is happening and someone starts laughing? Not a polite smile, not an awkward grin, actual laughter at a funeral, during a heated argument, in the middle of heartbreaking news. Everyone else goes silent. The air gets heavy, and there they are, smiling, maybe even giggling, while the tension thickens. In that moment, most of us think the same thing. Are they being disrespectful? Do they even care? What is wrong with them? It feels inappropriate, almost cold. But here's what most people don't realize. Laughter doesn't always mean joy, it doesn't always mean humor, and it definitely doesn't always mean someone finds the situation funny. Sometimes, laughter is the body's emergency exit, when emotions spike too fast, when tension becomes overwhelming, when the brain doesn't know whether to fight, cry, freeze, or run. It hits a pressure release valve, and that valve can sound like laughter. What looks like insensitivity may actually be anxiety. What feels like mockery may actually be emotional overload. Today, we're uncovering the real psychology behind why some people laugh in the most serious moments, and why understanding it might completely change how you see them. We've been taught something very simple since childhood. If someone is laughing, they must be happy. Laughter equals joy. Smiling equals comfort. Giggling equals amusement. But psychology tells a very different story. Laughter is not just an emotion, it's a physiological response, and sometimes it has nothing to do with happiness. Laughter can show up in moments of anxiety, when your heart is racing and your thoughts are spiraling. It can surface during fear, when your body doesn't know how to react. It can happen during emotional overload, when the situation feels bigger than your capacity to handle it. In those moments, the nervous system is under pressure, and when pressure builds, the body looks for relief. Think of laughter like a pressure valve on a machine. When the internal stress rises too high, something has to release. For some people, that release is tears. For others, it's silence. And for some, it's laughter. Not because it's funny, not because they're heartless, but because their brain is trying to regulate intense emotion in real time. It's rarely planned, it's rarely conscious, and most of the time, it's completely automatic. Now let's talk about something called nervous laughter. When you feel uncomfortable, exposed, or emotionally cornered, your brain flips on its survival system. Most people know the big four responses: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. But there's another response that doesn't get talked about enough. Diffuse the tension. Your brain is constantly scanning for danger, not just physical danger, but social danger, conflict, rejection, embarrassment, loss. When it senses threat, your body floods with stress hormones. Your heart rate climbs, your breathing changes, your muscles tighten, and in that spike of pressure, your system looks for the fastest way to lower the intensity. For some people, that release is laughter. Picture this. Your boss calls you into their office unexpectedly. Your partner says, "We need to talk." Someone delivers shocking or tragic news. Your chest tightens. Your thoughts scramble. You feel exposed. Instead of crying, instead of shutting down, you laugh, not because it's funny, but because your nervous system is overloaded and trying to self-soothe. In that moment, laughter becomes armor, a shield, a reflex designed to protect you from emotional overwhelm. Sometimes laughter shows up for a completely different reason. Not anxiety, not avoidance, but overload. There are moments in life when your brain simply cannot process what's happening fast enough. The information hits too hard, too suddenly, too unexpectedly. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, when reality clashes with what you expected to happen. Your mind is trying to update the story in real time. You hear shocking news, a sudden breakup, a diagnosis, an unexpected confession. For a split second, it doesn't feel real. Your brain stalls. There's a glitch between what you thought was true and what is suddenly true. And in that frozen space, instead of crying, instead of responding correctly, you laugh. It's not intentional, it's neurological confusion. This is why people sometimes laugh in horror movies. Fear and surprise activate pathways in the brain that overlap with excitement. The nervous system gets mixed signals. High arousal is high arousal, whether it's joy or fear. When emotions spike suddenly, the brain can mislabel the response. The signal scrambles, the wiring crosses, and laughter slips out. Not as a joke, but as a reflex to something overwhelming and unreal. Now let's go deeper, because for some people this pattern didn't start in adulthood, it started in childhood. In certain homes, serious conversations weren't calm, they weren't safe. They were explosive, unpredictable, loud, sometimes even frightening. If you grew up in a strict household, an emotionally unstable environment, a high-conflict family, or a trauma-filled situation, you learned something very important, very early. Tension is dangerous, and when tension is dangerous, you adapt. Some children become invisible, some become hyper-responsible, and some become the comedian. Because humor can interrupt intensity. If I joke, maybe they won't yell. If I make everyone laugh, maybe the fight will stop. If I keep this light, maybe I'll stay safe. Over time, that strategy works. It protects you. It diffuses situations. It reduces conflict. But here's the catch. What protects you at 8 years old can follow you at 28 years old. Even in healthy relationships, even in calm environments. Your adult brain may know you're safe, but your body still reacts like tension equals threat. So when things get serious, the old defense system turns on, and humor becomes armor again. There's another layer to this behavior, and it has everything to do with social anxiety. For some people, serious moments don't just feel emotional, they feel risky. Risky for their image, risky for their acceptance, risky for how others see them. If you struggle with social anxiety, your brain is constantly asking one question: am I being judged right now? So when a room gets quiet, when tension rises, when someone shares something heavy, your mind starts racing. If I stay serious, this might get awkward. If I look uncomfortable, people will notice. If I don't break this tension, everyone will feel it. And somehow it'll be my fault. And in that split second, laughter becomes a social tool. Not to mock, not to minimize, but to smooth things over. It's an attempt to regulate the room, to signal friendliness, to appear relaxed, to avoid standing out in the worst possible way. For people wired this way, silence feels dangerous. Tension feels contagious. So they laugh. Not because it's funny, but because it feels safer than sitting in seriousness. It's social self-protection in real time. Let's be honest about something important. Sometimes laughing in serious moments does hurt people. At a funeral, during a vulnerable confession, when someone is crying in front of you, in those moments, laughter can feel dismissive, cold, invalidating. It can send the message, this isn't a big deal, even when it absolutely is. And that impact is real. But here's the part most people don't see. Intent and impact are not the same thing. The person laughing may not feel amused at all. Inside, they may feel panic, embarrassment, immediate regret. The second it happens, their inner dialogue might sound like this: "Why did I just do that? This is so inappropriate. I can't believe I laughed. What is wrong with me?" Now their anxiety doubles. Not only are they overwhelmed by the original serious moment, they're now overwhelmed by shame. And shame is powerful. The more ashamed someone feels about nervous laughter, the more self-conscious they become in future serious situations. That heightened anxiety makes their nervous system even more reactive, which makes laughter more likely to happen again. And just like that, a cycle forms. Anxiety triggers laughter. Laughter triggers shame. Shame increases anxiety. And the pattern repeats. Now let's break this down from a brain science perspective. Laughter isn't just a social behavior, it's biochemical. When you laugh, your brain releases dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter linked to reward and motivation. It also releases endorphins, which act as natural painkillers. On top of that, laughter activates pathways that help calm the stress response. In other words, laughter shifts your internal chemistry. So what happens in a serious or high-stress moment? Your body floods with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, your nervous system goes on high alert, and your brain immediately starts looking for balance. It wants regulation. For some people, laughter is the fastest route to that regulation. Research has shown that laughter can actually lower cortisol levels and reduce physical tension in the body. It interrupts the stress cycle. So when someone laughs during a serious moment, it may not be mockery or indifference. It may be their brain saying, "We're overwhelmed, let's stabilize." It's not always a character flaw. Sometimes it's survival biology doing exactly what it was designed to do. Protect the system from overload. Now let's make this practical. If you're someone who laughs in serious situations, the first thing to know is this: you're not broken. But you can become more aware. The moment you feel tension rising, your chest tightening, your thoughts speeding up, pause. Before the laugh escapes, take one slow, deep breath, then another. Breathing deeply signals to your nervous system that you're not in danger. It lowers the intensity just enough to give you a choice instead of a reflex. Next, ground yourself physically. Feel your feet on the floor. Notice the chair supporting your body. Slow your breathing intentionally. Grounding pulls you out of panic mode and back into the present moment. And if the laughter does slip out, address it directly. A simple sentence like, "I'm sorry, I laugh when I get nervous," can instantly shift the tone. It shows awareness. It shows care. It rebuilds connection. Most people respond with understanding when you're honest. Self-awareness weakens the pattern, and self-compassion prevents the shame spiral that keeps it alive. Change doesn't start with criticism. It starts with understanding yourself better. Now let's flip the perspective. What if you're on the other side? What if you're sharing something painful, something serious, and the other person starts laughing? Your first reaction might be anger. It can feel dismissive. It can feel like they're minimizing your experience. In that moment, it's easy to assume they don't care. But pause. Consider another possibility. They might be overwhelmed. They might not know how to hold the weight of what you're saying. Their nervous system could be firing just as intensely as yours. And laughter is the leak in the pressure valve. That doesn't erase the impact, but it changes the interpretation. Instead of escalating with frustration, try grounding the moment. Calmly say, "I need you to stay with me here." That sentence is powerful because it's clear and direct. It communicates your need without attacking their character. You're not accusing, you're not shaming, you're redirecting. Clear, direct, calm. That approach keeps the conversation intact. Anger often triggers defensiveness. Calm clarity invites connection. And when connection is the goal, regulation always works better than reaction. Here's the deeper truth. Laughter is powerful. It connects people. It heals tension. It builds bonds. But it's not always joy. Sometimes it's anxiety trying to find the exit. Sometimes it's trauma stepping in to protect. Sometimes it's a nervous system saying, "This is too much," and reaching for the fastest form of relief it knows. What looks careless on the outside can feel chaotic on the inside. What sounds like amusement can actually be overwhelm. Human behavior is layered, complex, protective. We judge the reaction, but we rarely see the wiring behind it. So the next time you see someone laugh when things get serious, pause before you label it. Look deeper. Ask yourself what might be happening beneath the surface, because psychology often hides behind behavior, and behavior is just the visible tip of something much deeper. The real story isn't always in the sound of the laughter. It's in the nervous system trying to survive the moment.